Have you ever felt like nothing is going right? Well, cheer up and welcome to Dave, the Caregiver radio program on Health Star Worldwide, where you'll learn how to avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout and how to survive the grieving process. They say there are only 3 types of people in the world: those who are caregivers, those who will become caregivers, and those who will someday need a caregiver. Join Dave and his guests now and every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific on Health Star Worldwide as they share practice tips and tools that you can start using immediately to help get you through this day so you can live your caregiver life more fully and abundantly. Now, here's your caregiver host, Dave Nassaney.
From Los Angeles, a big LA welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I am Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, coming to you live globally through the famous Radio Star Worldwide Network. Yes, folks, I am the guy who's going to help you and guide you through this very difficult journey called caregiving. And we're going to do our very best to help you avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout. Now, we have an exciting show planned for you today. My regular guest, we got mixed up with Australia time, which is easy to do, so we're going to have them next week. But Adrienne Gruberg, founder of the Caregiver Space, and I, founder of Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, will be talking about caregiver issues that are on the minds of every caregiver out there, especially burned out caregivers. So stay tuned. You do not want to miss this show. Hey, if you're new to the show, and we get many new listeners every week, especially from the new Blab television network that we've been simulcasting on. I'm your host, Dave Nassaney, and this show is to caregivers of every kind. And the one thing we know about caregivers is that they are caring, selfless, sacrificial, and oh yeah, they have that very bad habit of burning out because they tend to put everyone else's needs above their own. I mean, they can't help it. They're wired that way, but they can help it. It just doesn't come naturally, and it's a lot of hard work. Folks, come on, learn a lesson from the airlines. Remember, every time you board a plane and you wait in line for 3 hours, they tell you if there's an emergency to put your oxygen mask on first before you help your loved one with their mask, because they know from experience that if you don't do that, you'll most likely black out. And then you won't be of any good to anybody about anything. Now, we also talk about grief and loss here, and it has a devastating effect. It throws us into this thing called, are you ready? The grief process. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? It is terrible, but it's necessary. There's no way around it. You got to go through it. There's no shortcuts. You can't get around it. Can't pay somebody off to let them go through it instead of you. You just have to go through it. I wish I can tell you something different, but I can't. But hopefully we can help you through your grief and your loss if you happen to feel like you're stuck. Hey, I want to thank my last week's guest. Who was my last week's guest? I can't remember, but thank you, whoever you were. That'll tell you how prepared I am here. All right, enough of that. Let's see if Adrienne has shown up yet.
That's why.
Huh?
It was me. That's why you can't remember.
Oh, yes. Thank you to my last week's guest, Engineer Blake.
Thank you. No wonder you didn't remember. Not much time in there.
We had a good excuse for screwing up last week, too, didn't we? I don't remember what that excuse was, but a very good one. Just, we don't want people to think we come up with excuses every week, but, life as a caregiver is very rough. I just brought my wife home after 1 week in a convalescent hospital, which she thought was really fun and exciting because her roommate was an elderly patient who had a bad habit of wetting her diaper and not knowing that she wet her diaper. And when the nurse came over to change her diaper, she goes, "I'm here to change your diaper." And she goes, "No, it's not, it doesn't." Yes, you need your diaper changed. No. Yes, come on, let me change it. No. So, she didn't like that. But we tried to move her, but the place was full. And unfortunately, everybody down there wears a diaper. So, it was reminded me of like when we used to own a cat. You always smell of urine. But, we're caregivers, and that's what we do, isn't it? Well, here's Adrienne. God bless her. She's probably wondering where my Australia guest is. Hi, Adrienne.
Hi. No, I was
Welcome.
wondering where your guest was. I was on the first link that you sent me.
You were waiting over there.
So Adrienne Gruberg joined the call, and I'm here now. We're all together.
Yes, we're going to save that interview for next week because us caregivers have so much on the plate. I don't know how we do it. We're like that guy on Ed Sullivan's show, for those of you old enough to know who Ed Sullivan is, and he's spinning all the plates, right? And he's got to come back to this one. This one's about to fall over here, and he's got this one going. And, my wife broke her fibula and tibula a week ago because she ran over a curb in her electric wheelchair. I think I told you that last week. And so she was in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, and then she went to a nursing home. And she was, they wanted her there for like a month or two. And she's a very strong-willed type A personality. She says, no. She doesn't know how to talk too, but she knows how to say no 100 times. So she communicates very well. So I tried to find another place, and I went. It wasn't as good as this place. And I says, you know what? This is just too hard on a caregiver, me. And after all, it's all about me, right? We should come first before the needs of our loved ones. That's what I preach. So I decided to take my own advice and say, you know what? This would be easier for me if she was at home. And she's pretty good with her transfers, and we've got home health care coming, and our granddaughter lives here, and I'm here 75% of the time anyway because I'm an entrepreneur. And I said, you know what? I hate to see her miserable. I mean, I wouldn't want to be there next to somebody whose the room just reeked of urine. So, and for all those who have to change diapers, I feel very bad for you. But it comes with the territory, and all you got to do is just keep changing the diaper.
Learn.
Yeah, and if what happens when you don't change a diaper, right? You cook that little baby's bottom, and they get the most painful diaper rash that you don't want that. You got to keep them clean, right? And speaking of diapers, I just throw in the subject of guilt because in my book I have this analogy of diapers and guilt, right? Guilt are kind of like disposable diapers because guilt is a good thing, but there are two kinds of guilt. There's deserved guilt, and there's undeserved guilt. And deserved guilt simply means that, all right, I'm feeling guilty. Let me just stop and examine myself. Did I do anything wrong? If I'm not sure, let me ask some trusted people. And if you did do something wrong, then fess up, make amends, say you're sorry, turn yourself into the police, pay restitution, whatever it takes to make it right, and then get rid of the guilt, throw it away like you would a disposable diaper. Now, the other kind of guilt, undeserved guilt, or did I say that one? Which one did I do first? You guys aren't listening, are you?
Yeah, we are. What did he do, Adrienne? He did undeserved guilt first.
He did undeserved guilt.
Okay, so now you got deserved guilt. This is like a comedy show here.
What do we deserve guilt for?
Oh, what do we deserve guilt? So we said something stupid. It was uncaring. It was insensitive. It was just mean, something that Donald Trump would have said, and you just have to apologize. Okay. And maybe you're the kind of guy like the Donald that finds it very difficult to apologize. But you have to. If you screwed up, fix it. Turn yourself in to the police and all that stuff, and make it right, and then throw away the diaper. But I think I actually did that first. So if it's undeserved guilt, let's say your mother's making you feel guilty because you never call her, but you can't call her because you're so busy doing your caregiving responsibilities. Then you say, you know what? I don't deserve this guilt. And if you're not sure, ask a good friend like Blade or Adrienne, hey, here's what happened. Do I deserve this? And say, no, absolutely not. Say, okay, so now I'm feeling confident. I'm going to call my mother and say, listen, I'm sorry if you feel offended, but I'm sorry. I'm not going to feel guilty about this. I refuse to feel guilty because I didn't do anything wrong. And so please get over it so that we can continue our relationship. Damage related, be tough love kind of stuff. And then to do the same thing, you throw away the diaper, get rid of the guilt, because we know what happens if you don't. You get a diaper rash. It gets very painful.
Either way, you throw
Adrienne,
away the diaper.
Either
what?
way, throw away the diaper. Yeah.
So it has to be disposable. Otherwise, you got to turn it into the laundry place. So, Adrienne, it's your turn. What do you want to throw out there and see if it sticks on the wall like spaghetti?
I don't know. What? Well,
Caregivers always have to be ready in season and out. They got to answer the questions that are thrown to them unprepared. And the light's on you, Adrienne. Go ahead.
That's
Pressure.
just pressure. Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll shine the light on Blade. He's a caregiver too, kind of. Blade always has words of wisdom that you would never expect to come out of his mouth at the time that they come out. I bet he's got one right now.
I do.
Oh.
And that's this, is that I found this out lately, is that the people you give care to, they have a tendency to run all over you because you cater to their every whim and their every need because you want to take care of them and you want to do the right thing. And I have this strange thought lately that if you go in and say, look, I know what's right for you and here's what's going to happen and I'm going to do it my way and you're going to take it, and I'll bet you that'll make things a whole heck of a lot easier. And stop asking them questions, because I was thinking this the other day. We had a great grandmother, very, very old, and in the hospital, and everybody comes in, and it occurred to me after visiting with her for 4 or 5 hours, she's barraged with nothing but questions. And how that can incredibly drain a person. God, it makes you think so much. I don't know. How it can emotionally drain you.
Who's asking the questions?
Oh, everybody, caregivers. And there's like 7 of them that come in, especially if you're in a hospital. Right?
Yeah.
Or in a restaurant, there's 7 different people that come in. Did you get I don't know. Did you receive do you want did you get your breakfast? And it's like, I don't know. You feel terrible for whoever the person is. And so I was just thinking how if you are the primary caregiver, okay, you're going to lay down the law, here's what we're going to do. Might make it easier on them. Thoughts?
I know with my mother, I was a long distance caregiver. So when I had her attention and I was down there sitting face to face, she had COPD. My mother was given 2 years to live and lived 18. My father seemed perfectly healthy, got cancer, and died 3 years before she did. But I had been a long distance caregiver for the 2 of them and then just for her. And we did not get along. So caring for someone you don't get along with and caring for someone long distance and laying down the law, really difficult. I would sit with her and all she would do would be complain about either my husband or my father. And when she complained about my father, I finally told her, look, you were married over 50 years. Obviously something was right. If you ever start talking to me about him like that again, I'm just not going to come down anymore. I can't be part of this conversation. She stopped.
How hard was that for you?
It was not easy. When it came to, she let go of that, then she went right on to Steve. And
your husband.
Yes. And he had not been diagnosed when she was dying. And he was the one paying for the flights, for the car rental, the hotel, for all of my expenses when I was down there. And I just told her that that's no way to talk about the person who's making it possible for me to be here with you. So if you don't stop talking about him that way, she finally stopped. You could always tell she was censoring herself. It was very, very difficult for her to do that because her go-to behavior was criticism.
Yep.
And I just learned. My sister-in-law told me this, and I will pass it along, and maybe it will be helpful. she told me, when somebody is that kind of narcissistic, you just have to say yes to everything and just let it, whether you agree with them or not, really, just let it roll off your back. Yeah, no, you're right. Of course, sure, whatever you say. And that's all I want to hear. So you just treat them like they're a crazy person and you just ask them.
Or an alcoholic or a drunk.
Well,
or a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
but the thing is, it worked because I could let go of needing to be right.
Right. So these are survival mechanisms that we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that for me,
that's the difference between sanity and insanity for a caregiver.
You have to find what works for you. Of course, every situation is different. My husband was a very, very critical person. When I became his caregiver, after he was diagnosed with cancer, he came to appreciate me a lot more and respect me a lot more. And we've been together 26 years at that point. Mm. So it's like, it's the same me, you know? And he was just, well, I'm just seeing it for the first, I'm just seeing just what you're capable of doing for the first time. So cool. I got something out of that, and it kept me going for another 6 years. So,
yeah, mother-in-laws are tough. I'm hearing an echo.
Me too.
For me?
No, it's me. Oh, that went away. Just
my mother-in-law lived with us for 3 years because she was diagnosed with lymphoma when she was 89.
So my mother-in-law lived with us for almost 3 years, taking care of Charlene right after her stroke.
Yeah.
And I could put up with her more than her mother could, than Charlene could, because, you know, I could just leave because she would take over. And, you know, they would talk about me behind my back. I would hear it through the doors. And I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, all I do for these people, afterwards, I bought them a house. I paid for their insurance, paid for their medical insurance, the homeowners association, taxes. I gave them money when they needed it, this and that. And it's like they still don't trust me. I mean,
right.
Now I'm just a child when I married 21, their 31-year-old daughter from a previous marriage, you know. And so I was the immature person who they have never learned to trust, because I was always going to be immature in their eyes, even when it was obvious that I was very mature and I was taking care of their daughter for 20 years and so on and so on. But, you know, I think I think she had something, you know, a form of dementia, because she would accuse her loved ones of doing things like stealing stuff, you know, and she accused my wife of stealing photographs, and we didn't do that. And she wouldn't let it go. We ignored her, like you said, you know, yesterday death, but she's like this bulldog. She just wouldn't let go. And finally, you know, she was on the phone and she's, please just give them back, you know. And I says, we can't give them back because we don't have them. And if you bring this up again, you're going to damage the relationship. Kept going, you know, she just kept going. Finally, I says, you know what? I'm done talking about this. Don't call us anymore. And we didn't talk to her for 3 years.
Wow.
And finally, you know, things started getting better again. She invited us to this family reunion, and we slowly kind of pretended it never happened. No one ever apologized. But, you know, we get along now, because now she had a fall and she almost died. And now, you know, her dementia is affecting her memory and stuff. And she's a long-term caregiver. She's probably 2 hours away. So we go up there as often as we can. But I mean, I got my hands full here. But let me talk about what Blade was talking about is, you know, as caregivers, we have to do those, and you were talking about it too. We have to do those uncomfortable things, like just assert ourselves and be bold and say things we don't want to say. And this happened just last week with my wife. She's, like I said, she's a very strong personality. And I usually let her have her way on the unimportant stuff. But, she should have been wearing her seatbelt. And I should have insisted that she always wear her seatbelt. So shame on me. But, and we would get in fights about it. After a while, I said, it just ain't worth fighting over. But you know what? It was worth fighting over. I should have made that one of the things that I didn't, compromise on. So I told you she didn't like where she was and she's complaining, and I couldn't really argue with her because I wouldn't want to be there. And so I drove all the way back to my town to see if I could find a better one. And, the one that was close to us was worse than the one she was in. And the one she was in was pretty good. I mean, as far as nursing homes go, it was a good one. They come a lot worse, but it was a good one. And so I just couldn't see her doing it. So I went back and I arranged for home health care. I'm making all these sacrifices, just putting all this uncertain pressure on me, saying, okay, I'm sure I can handle it. I'm home 75% of the time. And we'll just make it work, And so I get back and with all this good news, right? And I say, okay, I got good news for you. You're going to come home, but you can't leave till Monday, which is like 5 days. And she just had a fit. I want to leave now. I says, well, and I just got so upset. And I told her all. I just, the person in the next bed was listening to me, but I didn't even care. It just needed to be said. I says, shame on you. You're being impatient. You're being arrogant. You're being stubborn. I says, you have no idea all the sacrifices I've made for you, especially this last week, and this is all your fault anyway, because you didn't wear your seatbelt. And she got really upset when I said that. And she was just getting more and more angry because, I was standing up to her, and I do it on occasion. I don't like to do it, but I just was planning on dropping the bomb and leaving the room, because let her simmer. And that's what I did. I just let her have it, and everything was right and correct. And I said, and I'm just going to leave you here. If you don't like this, I'll just leave you here, and whatever, because, I know I have all the aces, and all you caregivers have to realize you have all the aces. You have all the power. It's like a little elephant, baby elephants. They tie them to a stake with barely a string, like a kite string. And the elephant tries to lift it up, and he can't because they're not very strong. And yet as that elephant grows to gargantuan size, they keep the same stupid little string tied, because elephants have great memories. They remember they tried and it didn't work, so they never try again. And that's kind of what most caregivers are. That they have all this power. They could pick that stake up if they wanted to, but they don't even try because whatever reason. So I left the room, let her stew a while, and nurse came up to me. She said, I came into your room to ask your wife, and she's crying. I didn't know what to say to her. I said, we had an argument. She just needs to, cool off. She said, oh, sorry. But then, after about an hour, she was fine. But she would have been in control if I didn't exert my control. So caregivers, you got to do it. You've got to draw the line in the sand. Don't be like Obama, who draws his Syrian line and, and it just doesn't mean anything. You got to draw your line, then you have to enforce it. So you agree, Adrienne? You
also know who you're dealing with, who your customer is. Dealing with a parent versus dealing with a spouse versus a child or a sibling. You do have to think about, well, how can, or sometimes can I make them hear me, what I have to say? Yeah. And you and I were talking to people who clearly understand, but frustration, imagine what it's like when you're dealing with someone who doesn't even know who you are anymore.
Oh yeah, that's really tough.
So that's why when you were talking...
Wait, save that thought, Adrienne. Don't lose your train of thought. We're going to go on a break, and we'll be right back. Those darn breaks.
Being a caregiver takes a special person with passion and compassion. Even you become a little burned out from time to time. The Caregiver's Caregiver Radio Show was developed to help you overcome obstacles, adversity, and burnout, as well as just having a place to rest, relax, and recharge your batteries. We've all been there, and you're not alone. Now, you can take the Caregiver's Caregiver with you. Get the top 25 radio shows in convenient form that plugs right into your USB car stereo or computer. Learn the techniques, tips, and encouragement we all need to better handle the day-to-day challenges. For around $1 per show, just $29.77, get the credit card-sized USB card to have with you anytime you need a caregiver's pick-me-up. Just go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com and order yours today. Go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com now. Consider it an investment in you, and ultimately, an investment in them. Caregivers, have you ever felt like nothing is going right? Well, cheer up and tune into Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program on HealthStar Worldwide, where you'll learn how to avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout and how to survive the grieving process. With roughly 100 million caregivers in the U.S. and Canada alone, it's about 1/3 of the population. That means everybody probably knows somebody caring for a loved one. They say that there are only 3 types of people in the world: those who are caregivers, those who will become caregivers, and those who will someday need a caregiver. Mothers of special needs children, family members caring for elderly parents, spouses, siblings, or friends caring for disabilities such as Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, stroke, heart disease, diabetes, muscular dystrophy, AIDS, autoimmune diseases. The list goes on. Join Dave and his guests every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific on HealthStar Worldwide as they discuss avoiding caregiver burnout and surviving grief. You'll start feeling better in no time as you begin to receive practical tips and tools that you can start using immediately to help you get through the day and to live life more fully and abundantly.
And we're back with Adrienne Gruberg and myself and Blade. And you know you're famous when you're referred to by the one name, like Cher, Beyonce, Blade. Adrienne, you were saying about when they don't recognize you anymore.
Well, Blade has a question.
Very quick, and then back to when they don't recognize you anymore, because that I'm learning a lot about when they don't recognize you anymore. So, Dave, when you put your foot down,
yeah.
Remember we talked about deserved and undeserved guilt earlier in the program. When you put your foot down, and Charlene started crying, and then what makes a man feel worse than that? You see a woman crying, and you did it, but you did stand up for yourself. So, did you feel bad about it when you walked away?
You know, over the last 41 years, I have made her cry many times. Not many times, but many times. Maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I don't know if that's average for a man. A lot of the times are things that were, that I was just stupid. I said something. I just made her cry yesterday and didn't even realize it. We were watching a show on the Gilmore Girls, and the 16-year-old daughter was telling that they were having a rummage sale, and the mother didn't want to get rid of anything in her closet. And she's like, "Oh, what about this one?" The daughter goes, "It has tassels. It has, rhinestones." Yeah, that makes it classic. She goes, "It has tassels. Did I say it has rhinestones?" And finally, she just get away. And she grabbed a whole big thing, and she goes, "These are going out." She goes, "Ah." And so all I said was, because Charlene has always had a problem giving away things. Her closet is just jam-packed. And so all I said is, "Wow, you ought to do some of that." And all of a sudden, she's so sensitive these days, and she just started crying. I said, "I was joking." And I said, "You've already done that. Remember, you cleaned your closet out?" And, I had to kind of backpedal, and I was feeling guilty because it was deserved guilt. And so I tried to make it better. And in about 10, 15 minutes, she was fine. But, I hurt her feelings, just a stupid joke.
It didn't mean to, though. That's
didn't mean to. No, but there are other times when I had to. Maybe 4 times a year, I have to make her cry. I don't want to make her cry, but I know that what I have to say is going to make her cry because that's just the way she is. But they're important things like we were in Las Vegas, and she had like 3 margaritas, which she's a little tipsy on 3 margaritas, and she's in her power chair, and we're like in this, and I says, you know what, the last time you had 3 margaritas, you went up the ramp at the house, and the chair went all the way back, and you almost hit your head on this sharp object. Fortunately, you just landed on the soft carpet. So I says, you're putting your seatbelt on. She goes, no, because, you know, she doesn't want her seatbelt on. Just like, she's too good for that. You know, she doesn't need a seatbelt. And so I said, well, you know, we're not going anywhere. You want to stay in the hotel room the rest of the vacation? We're not going anywhere. If you want to go outside, you're wearing that seatbelt. And so she stewed for like an hour because she's stubborn. And finally, you know, she's put on the seatbelt and we went, you know, and of course she cried and all that stuff. And that's the kind of things that I have to, you know, I choose my battles carefully.
So you didn't feel bad about it, that battle?
No, when I'm right, I have to just put this cold, callous covering around my heart and say, you know, your tears aren't going to affect me. You know, I say this to myself. I don't say that. Sometimes I say it to her. I says, you can cry all you want. I am not moved by your tears because I am right. You are wrong. One of the 99.9% of the time that you are not, that you are right. This is the 0.1% that you're wrong and I am right. So just take it like a man, you know, and stop crying because it's not going to affect me. You know, you got to be really like Donald Trumpish, you know. I use his name a lot lately because, you know, he's kind of the closest thing I can think of when we're trying to do this. Because it's nasty and nobody wants to be that way, but it's survival. You know, it's either her life or my life. And if I go, who's going to take care of her? I mean, that you got to make it down to that kind of simplistic logic, you know. Am I wrong or am I right, Adrienne? It's just my style. I mean, you would do it differently, perhaps. It's my personality. I don't know.
No, it's you have a great deal of patience, and
do I?
So, I mean, if you
sometimes
like,
I don't think I do, but thank you.
If you're saying she's right 99 and 99, that you're really giving her a lot there.
Well, I would have a lot more money in my bank account if I listened to her more often when she would say, oh, I don't think we should do that. No, really, it's good.
Yeah.
You know, so I've learned to listen more and, you know, humble myself.
I have this book that I got a long time ago called Self-Care Now. It's 30 tips to help you take care of yourself and minimize your caregiver burnout.
Oh.
By Pauline Salvucci.
So give us some of those top tips.
Create strong boundaries. I'm going to read it. Feeling nervous about making boundaries is okay, but you have to do it anyway because boundaries protect you from being walked on or taken advantage of by others. What boundaries do you want and need to create? Make them clear and direct. Write what you will say to others who violate them. Be brief and be clear. Practice delivering your message out loud. Look in the mirror and hold your eyes. Use a recorder and listen to your voice.
So we're practicing.
Strength and conviction. Mean what you say and say what you mean.
Yeah,
and
that's good advice.
That's something I learned in setting my boundaries. I could not go back on them. Once I said that was it, that was my bottom line, there were no idle threats. I stuck to it. And that way, they knew that when I said something, I meant something. Anyone, whether it was my husband, my mother-in-law, my mother, my father, anybody. They know that when I finally get to that point and I have to set that boundary for myself, that's it. That's for real.
No negotiating down. Like you don't like bluff by coming up with something like a notch above what you're willing and then let them think that they negotiated you down one notch. Sometimes I do that.
Negotiation is a different process.
There has to be that rule in the seatbelt rule in your house, Dave, there's got to be that rule. You can't ever, and that's what Adrienne said. Yeah, boy, you got to put your foot down. That's got to always be a seatbelt rule, and you can't ever give in on that one, huh?
Right. Because look at, I mean,
Yeah, I'm the one who suffers, perhaps more than her,
my brother's mother-in-law was on a city transport bus for seniors, and the bus was not equipped with seatbelts. And my this woman, whose name is Ruth, the driver of the bus took a turn, and who was 96, 97, fell off her seat because there were no seatbelts. And she broke the upper bone in her leg. Is that the femur?
Yep.
That's what she broke this time. This woman is made of steel. She trips on things and falls, but it's not like she's ever broken a hip and then fallen, which is what they say happens. But that seatbelt is really, really important, because there are so many things that can jostle you out of the seat, and the chair is built so that if the seatbelt's on and you go over that curb and it falls, you're not going to be hurt by it.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Blade last week about, she was saying, well, the chair would probably fall on me if I had my seatbelt on. And I said, well, I don't know if it would or if it wouldn't, but you and the chair would be one piece. I think you would get less injured. I don't know.
You would think that's how the chair is designed, so that some of the impact is absorbed by the chair.
Yeah.
Look at the chair and report back next week.
I actually tried it myself. I went out on a curb and I very slowly went. I had the seatbelt on. I very slowly went over the curb, in slow motion. And it's true. Once it goes down, I go forward. So we got all this weight pulling, and that chair did want to follow me. And I believe the chair would have gone over. But, I would have probably put my hand up if I saw I was going over, as she would have. She has one good hand. And I don't think she would have broken a leg, a bone. I don't think she would have. She might have, broken a wrist. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever you stop yourself with.
Yeah, or sprained it or something. But I think the damage would have been less. Because, you're going over a curb, you're going to get hurt somehow. So you want to minimize the damage.
You also understand how frustrating it is for her, and she knows that you understand that. So
yeah,
she's probably feeling guilty too.
I don't know. She doesn't feel guilty very often. At least she doesn't show it.
Did we help you at all, Blake?
Yeah. People that don't feel guilt are to be admired.
Blade, I think, is a softie. I think he just always loses the arguments.
I do, and it's because if it means that much to you, okay. It didn't mean that much to me, but anyway. So, all learning that, you get older, we learn that the caregiving skills are going to be more and more important as we get older. So, I think I'm right at the beginning, being in my mid-50s, where it's all starting to be very, very important now.
Well, what if you had a seatbelt issue? You think you would give in, or you would be strong?
No, from what I've learned from you two, you put the darn seatbelt on, you keep it on.
And you can be that way, huh? You can be real stern and scary.
No, definitely. I could definitely do that. It's especially easy when you've had 3 margaritas. What?
You just need a good reason to be scary.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe that seatbelt is a good reason.
Yeah, because he was scary there for a moment. I believed him. Didn't you, Adrienne? No, you can practice your scary face in the mirror. It's like, oh man, this guy ain't gonna give in. I better back off.
Yeah.
Part of it is the delivery, isn't it?
Yes, that's why I think you have to practice your lines to know what the delivery sounds like.
Wow, we're giving caregivers just millions of dollars of valuable information here. I hope they understand just how lucky and beneficial and valuable this stuff is. It's like they should put it in their safe and treat it with care and do it.
People are always telling me to write books, like Adrienne, write a book. You know so much, write a book. And so I learned it from books that are out there. I don't need to write a book.
But you are writing a book, right?
But I'm writing a memoir. I'm not writing a book on caregiving.
What's the difference between a memoir and a book? Is the story of your life?
Yeah.
So it's a book about the story of your life.
And my grandparents and a lot of other stuff. It's not about caregiving. It's about...
Well, I'm sure there'll be caregiving in there because that's part of your life, no? Or are you going to stop before you became a caregiver?
Pretty much stopping before.
Oh.
Yeah.
Question, Adrienne, are you good at, and have you learned to be good at putting your foot down and establishing your boundaries over the years of caretaking? Or do you just ascribe to the just say yes theory?
No, I've learned. I have to put my foot down with myself too, so that when I put my foot down with my mother, I had to put my foot down with myself to not go back on what I said. So that learning that my word is my word, and I'm sticking to it. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, I can see the tough Adrienne, can't you?
I can.
She can be scary.
The tough Adrienne is when I have reached my limit, and I have a very, very high boiling point, but when I get the lookout,
listen, time for another break. Time flies when we're having fun. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Being a caregiver takes a special person with passion and compassion. But even you can become a little burnt out from time to time. The Caregiver's Caregiver Radio Show was developed to help you overcome obstacles, adversity, and burnout, as well as just having a place to rest, relax, and recharge your batteries. We've all been there, and you're not alone. Now, you can take the Caregiver's Caregiver with you. Get the top 25 radio shows in convenient form that plugs right into your USB car stereo or computer. Learn the techniques, tips, and encouragement we all need to better handle the day-to-day challenges. For around $1 per show, just $29.77, get the credit card-sized USB card to have with you anytime you need a caregiver's pick-me-up. Just go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com and order yours today. Go to DaveTheCaregiversCaregiver.com now. Consider it an investment in you, and ultimately, an investment in them. One arm, one leg, 100 words. Overcoming unbelievable hardships is a touching story about Charlene, a stroke survivor. Back in 1996, Charlene was a healthy, normal, very active 52-year-old woman whose amazing talents resembled that of both a Martha Stewart and Wonder Woman. But all that changed when she suffered a massive stroke that left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on her right side. She met her husband, Dave, 21 years earlier. They had a wonderful fairy tale storybook-like courtship that soon culminated in their marriage. Charlene had just come out of a marriage where after 10 years, she received 2 black eyes and a broken nose by her former husband when he came home high on speed. Charlene believed in no second chances of any kind for abuse, so she left. Finding herself all alone in the world, her 5 and 10-year-old daughters, Cynthia Lorraine and Deborah Lynn, she started raising them by herself for the next 2 years. Then fate brought them all together. After falling in love with Charlene, Cindy, and Debbie, their love then produced Rebecca. They all had a wonderful, normal life for the next 20 years. But today, things are very different for everyone. One arm, one leg, 100 words. Overcoming unbelievable hardships is the amazing story of a woman's fight to survive all that life had thrown her way. Everyone who knows Charlene is thoroughly amazed at how she lives day by day, month by month, year by year, and with a smile on her face and hope in her heart that everything is going to be okay. Her faith in God is her foundation in this hope that everything happens for a reason, and what doesn't kill her will make her stronger. She inspires everyone that meets her. Best-selling author Lynn Barrington says, "If you think you have it bad, read this book. This is a beautiful, genuine story from the heart. It is inspiring and easy to read. When you finish this book, you'll be able to look at your concerns in a new light." 9-time Grammy and Dove Award recipient, the godfather of contemporary gospel music, Andre Crouch, says Charlene just won't let the promises of God go, and she has not let her circumstances get in the way of her faith. She's not just a survivor, she's more than a conqueror. As the Bible states, you will be encouraged by her testimony, regardless of what you're going through. Order your copy today from the author's website, onearm1leg100words.com. And Dave and Charlene will personally autograph your copy. Enjoy.
And we're back with Adrienne Gruberg, founder of the Caregiver Space. How many are following you now, Adrienne? Over 150,000?
Not quite 150, just this shy of 150.
Amazing. When I grow up, I want to be just like you. And the famous Blade. So give us another tip, Adrienne, from that book.
We were talking before the last break. We were talking about how to talk to different.
Oh, we never got back to that. Go ahead.
Depending on, you talk to your husband or wife one way, talk to your parents another way, friends, siblings, in-laws. You really have to practice your voice and know how you're going to be heard. And accept the fact that there are some people, when they don't know who you are anymore, that no matter what you say, it's not going to work. So then you have to sort of start talking to yourself and learning how to deal with that.
You mean the mirror?
Yeah. It's really, it's not an easy thing.
Mothers and spouses especially.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate that in my life so far, my parents, my in-laws, none of them had any kind of dementia. I had aunts that did, but not people that I had to deal with. They were all still there 100%.
What a blessing.
So that for me was a blessing.
Sure.
They weren't easy, but at least they hurt. So I do feel for people. I mean, like Lisa Hirsch, who's been on the show. Lisa's learned that she can have a wonderful relationship with her mother now. Maybe a better relationship than they ever had, because she's been able to let go of who's right, who's wrong, all the petty arguments that they ever had. Yeah. And she, but she did have to get used to the fact that she doesn't know who I am, but she knows that she likes me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So.
Another tip.
It takes practice. It takes practice. Yeah. You have another question, Blade?
Well, I was thinking about what it gets to the point. What is the most important thing when it gets to the point where, okay, I can't take enough. I've had enough of this. And I'm sure you go through phases where I've had enough, I can't take it anymore. And then you're refreshed and you're okay for a while. And then you get back to the point where I just can't take any more of this. What is the best thing? Is it sleep? Is it leaving? Is it resting? Is it putting your foot down? Or is it just time?
I'll let Adrienne answer that. But first I want to mention you and this cell phone have a lot in common, Blade, because every now and then this little battery starts flashing. And it doesn't matter what I do, this thing's going out. It needs to be recharged. And it comes back and it's nice to me again. So that's what's happening to you. You're saying, I can't take this anymore. I can't take this. And you pull the plug, and, that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's rest and sleep.
So
and then,
I find it better to do something about this when it's 20%, not like 1%.
Not waiting until it's
good. That's good. Not waiting until it's too late.
You better write that one down, Blade.
And over the years, you get to know what that point is. You know what the 20% left point is.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it might be something as simple as snapping at a friend, the first time, He's okay, that's it. Or just feeling, that heart palpitation, or whatever it is for you.
How about a good stiff drink? That ever help?
Well, sometimes, if you're Irish.
Adrienne?
Glass of wine.
Oh, she's frozen. She's frozen, I think.
Really? Adrienne, talk to us. Slap her, Billy.
Won't help.
Be back. She'll be back.
Good stiff drink. You ever done that, David? I need a
yes,
drink.
Definitely. There are times when I need a glass of wine. And, if I was a hard liquor person, I would, drink a shot of scotch or something. And if I was a hippie, I'd probably, smoke a joint or something. But whatever works for you, and now there's so many medicinal reports out there about the marijuana, and now that marijuana has become almost mainline, and you go into these gourmet places and they've got, okay, well, you want a stress-free marijuana? Do you want I'm tired, I want to go to sleep marijuana? Do you want I need to eat because I'm losing too much weight marijuana? Well, we can make it in brownies and now scientists are coming on board, because before they never were able to exert their opinion on the topic. And I think it's just very interesting because you can even get the benefits of it without getting stoned. There are ways of taking the TCP part of it, or I don't know if I have it mixed up because I don't know too much about it, but you can get the benefits of marijuana without getting the high of marijuana, the medicinal part of it. And even my chiropractor gave me these gel pills. He says, this is all the good stuff of the healing part of it. And it doesn't give you the high, for my back pain and stuff like that. But they're very expensive.
Was it good and effective?
For me, I think it was, but it was just too expensive for me.
Yeah.
So maybe you got to go to Colorado and buy them. I don't know. I think there's too many middlemen. Because, when I was younger, a teenager, I used to be a pothead. And so I gave it up. Haven't smoked anything in 41 years.
Yeah.
God kind of healed me from it. So, I'm very reluctant to go back to that lifestyle, because I figured it'd be slapping God in the face after he healed me of all of that. It's kind of like being healed of smoking cigarettes or something or whatever.
But is it so wrong?
I don't know. I'm I guess technically, if it's illegal, you're breaking the law,
right.
But the law has gotten so blurry these days, I mean, we don't even know if it's right for a man to use a woman's restroom anymore. I mean, they got us so confused, and
we don't even know if milk
and
is
they
good
only enforce the laws they want to enforce. I mean, does anyone here think Hillary is really going to go to jail for doing 100 times more than General Petraeus? I mean, we're selective about who we enforce laws against and who we give a pass to.
Sure.
Sad, and that's the foundation or the start of society falling down. Oh, we got 1 minute to go. So, Adrienne, tell us how we can get a hold of you. Time.
Sure. It's Adrienne at the Caregiver Space.org, and Adrienne is ADRIENNE.
All right.
Yeah.
Blade, good show. Thanks again. We'll see you all next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Caregivers Caregiver Radio Program with Dave Nassaney. Join Dave each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, or catch the program anytime, 24/7, right here on Health Star Worldwide.